My wife and I have 3 kids under 5 years old, and the older two are always waking up early. Recently, my older kids have loved drinking non-caffeinated tea in the morning. But every morning, one of the first things I do is make my wife and I a latte. And when this happens, usually they come up and ask me, "Hey, Dad, can I have a cup of tea?" And since I'm still making my wife coffee, I usually respond with, "Not yet." They respond with, "Oh, that's right, Father. I love that you love Mummy so much that you wish to make her a cup of coffee. I will display my patience, knowing that you'll make us tea in due time." Not likely. Usually what happens is they start whining and say something like, "But I want it now." My kids hate waiting, and if I'm honest with you, I get it. I don't like waiting either. But the Apostle Paul actually writes about this in Galatians. He says this, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." One of the character traits that the Holy Spirit wants to produce in us is forbearance, namely patience. Most discipleship books, if you read them, start with something like Bible study and prayer and move on to some of the other spiritual disciplines. I even wrote one myself, but if I could do it again, I would write a chapter at the beginning all about patience. Why? Because I believe that the fruit of patience is the most misunderstood and neglected character trait in our culture today. The reality is, we want everything to happen on our timing. We want our food to be ready when we want it to be ready. We want our Amazon deliveries to arrive the next day, or better yet, the same day we order it. We get angry when the gift didn't arrive in time for Christmas. We get frustrated when the traffic is busy over the weekend and slows us down. The word for patience or forbearance in the Greek is the word macrothumia. It can be broken down into 2 parts. The first, macro, meaning long, and the second, thumia, meaning suffering. So what is patience then? Long suffering. Patience is the ability or strength to stay in the pressure and not fold. Tim Keller has described patience as the ability to take it. So if patience is endurance in the context of suffering, then what is impatience, right? Is it just frustration? I think we often think of losing our patience, our long suffering, as getting frustrated, but I don't actually think that's what impatience is. I believe it's actually possible to show patience and be angry about something at the same time, to be patient and be frustrated or hurt. So what is impatience? Impatience is crumbling under the pressure. It is the inappropriate pressure relief we apply when we've had enough. We think of sin as the outward actions, and God does see that as sin, but it's the result of a sinful attitude that comes from within us. Like, what is murder made of, right? It's made of grumbling. Grumbling that has been given the right nutrition and resources to grow into something murderous. How do you grow grumbling into murder? Impatience, which manifests itself as self-pity. You take that grumbling, you plant it in the soil of the soul, and you water it with self-pity every day until it fully matures into death. You see, we look around and say, "God, I want relief from this pressure, and it looks like relief ain't coming soon, so I'm gonna get mine now. I deserve a break, God." And we think it's better than nothing, but it's not. It kills our soul. So how do we allow the Holy Spirit to develop patience in us? First, remember God's patience with you. Every day, you and I tax God's patience. Jesus Christ being patient, taking the blows, the thorns, and suffering and pain. Why? For you. And what is God requiring of us? That we treat the cashier with courteousness. Look what Jesus has suffered for you and I. Christ has shown his patience and continues to show his patience for you and I. And when we remember that, it develops patience in our hearts. Second, remember the majesty of God. Tim Keller tells this great story of visiting a very important person who is late to their meeting, and it was fine for Tim. Why? Because he was so delighted that the guy would even meet with him. Tim really respected him. And if there really is an important person to me and they make me wait, guess what? I'm usually fine with it. Someone I really value and respect, if they're late in getting back to me, I may get uncomfortable, but I would wait. Why? Because I'm just so honored to get the time with them. How much more for God himself? God, who is the creator of the universe, spends time with us, and yes, sometimes is the one who makes you wait. And then finally, remember that God's timing is best. John Newton, the hymn writer, wrote this phrase, "Everything is necessary that God sends, and nothing is necessary that God withholds." And if you believe in a God that is infinite in wisdom, power, and compassion and goodness, if you truly believe God is all powerful and all knowing and all good, the literal maker of heaven and earth, your loving Father who is perfect in majesty, you have to agree with that statement. If you don't, then you don't believe he exists, or the God you've been thinking of doesn't exist. The Lord is good and his mercies are new every morning. And I hope you will find that the deeper we pursue Christ and his ways, the more patience God will develop in us. He is faithful and his timing is better than ours. I hope this encourages you today.